Wow, how are we doing, everybody? Woo! I know we can do a little bit better than that. Come on. How is everybody doing? There we go. All right. It is such an honor and privilege to be with you all today when we were discussing some of the panelists that were going to be on this for this evening. It kind of went over some different options, and Bonnie reached out to some of our partners, Danielle and Heidi and Shannon and Jenny, Maxwell, and they all agreed to be on the panel. It was absolutely amazing. Couldn't believe it. So huge shout out for them. No, it's great to have them here today, and I cannot wait to be empowered and inspired by their business journeys and what they're building, because it is no joke. These ladies are absolute powerhouses in the Denver community and nationwide and everything that they do. They're just committed to excellence in everything, and they serve like I've never seen anything before. I was actually very personally touched by Access when my mother actually passed away 2 years ago. And Access, the team in Denver, was the very first team to reach out to me and say, how are you doing? Like, I hope you're doing well. And 2 days after I made a very brief post on Instagram about my mother passing, a huge plant just shows up at my door. And it was that inspiring moment that really is impactful, and I'll remember that for the rest of my life. It's a small act of kindness, but it's that generosity and that really thinking and serving of other people that takes business and your personal life to a next level. So I'm very excited to hear about that journey and kind of how they integrate the serving of people in their homes and their lives, their personal lives, and their business, and how that actually transpires to more revenue, more growth, and just better serving our clients. So without further ado, we're gonna get started with a little bit of fun. Okay, so we have these coasters. It's all about empowerment, okay? So when you say empowerment, what does somebody feel? Just shout it out. Confidence? Yep. Strong. Another. Large? In charge. Large and in charge. How about that? Absolutely. And it's giving somebody the power that they have the power to change themselves for the betterment of their future, their businesses, and everything that we have, our goals and aspirations in our life. Because we all have goals, we all have dreams that we want to do in this life, and empowerment to me just means that I can wake up every day and make a difference in my life and hopefully somebody else's life. So we have this little girl right here. We'll call her Tiffany. She's our empowered Tiffany that is changing the world, and it says, I am empowered. So on this side, we're gonna say, I am, and then on this side, we're gonna say empowered. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. I am, empowered. One more time. I am, empowered. Really loud this time. Go for it. I am empowered. Excellent. Woo! All right. Now we've got a little icebreaker, kind of shake it off a little bit, and now we're ready to get started with the panel. So we have with us Jenny Maxwell, who started Planning Diva a few years ago. That is a software company for event planners, doing an incredible job with it. And then she ran Occasionally Fabulous Events for many years, which is a corporate event planning company, before getting into Planning Diva. So very excited to hear about that journey and what it's like to go from a planner to now a software creator and integrator in the event industry. Secondly, we have Danielle Phippen with Access, who has pioneered the event industry in many ways, creating relationships all over the globe on different suppliers and creating unforgettable moments for their clients. And then we also have Heidi Brown with Access as well. They are partners in the company, and they absolutely crush everything. Like I said, I was the recipient of some of their serving abilities just on a personal and business level when my mother passed away. So both of these ladies are super inspiring and changing lives from the inside out on everything they do. Lastly, but not least, we have Shannon Martinez, who we can't wait to hear about her journey, who owns the Olive and Poppy, which is a floral studio and recently changed over to Lusha event design. Did I say that right? Lusha. Lusha. My apologies. I made sure to get that right every time. Love it. Love it. So, very first question that I'm going to ask the panel, and they'll each answer, is what is your superpower?
I actually just learned my superpower a couple weeks ago. It was told to me, it's called anti-fragility. You should Google it later. I'm not going to tell you what it is now, but Google anti-fragility. It's pretty awesome.
I'm a little upset this wasn't on the list. Was this on the list?
Surprising you a little bit. Gotta just throw in. It's the event industry.
Maybe.
You never know what to expect,
Yeah.
so you gotta just throw in a little curveball every once and again.
Brian also told us to wear what you think would be impactful for your brand, and then there's tables in front of me, which doesn't allow my shoes to stand out. But my superpower, I would say, again, not on the list. I think my superpower as it relates to our business is dreamer. I don't think anything's impossible. And so I'm also, if any of you know core mapping, I'm a C, I'm a commander, so I get it done. So I think my dreamer and my get it done personality is my superpower.
Love it.
Good one, Danielle. Way to just wing it. I would say, okay, so we are business partners. We're also best friends. And one of the things that has made us very successful is that we complement each other. So her being dreamer, mine is a driver. So I think that's definitely been, that's, I guess, if you have to reflect, if I am reflecting about myself, is that I definitely drive, and it can sometimes be a positive and it can be a negative, but it is something that keeps pushing myself forward.
Oh, trickster, throwing in surprises at us. Superpower. So we were talking about this a little bit before. I would say, I'll keep it PG. I would say I have a pretty good no BS barometer. I'm a pretty good energy reader. As soon as I meet somebody, I have a pretty good ability to detect liars. Because I'm not a good liar myself. I would say probably that.
Yeah, I love that.
No lying. I'm
No
gonna call
lying.
you out.
All truth. That girl is a truther over there. That's what we would call her.
Not that I necessarily want to be all the time.
No, I love it. And part of the event industry, right, is you got to throw a couple of curveballs in there. So we might throw in some questions that keep you on your toes a little bit. You can call me. It's okay. All right. So next question is just give us a little, if you were to tell us 45 seconds to 2 minutes of your career and how would you do your overall elevator pitch, what would you talk about? Like, what are some of the biggest lessons that you can think of in your overall professional career if you were to summarize that?
That's like 3 questions in one, just so you know. So all right, so quick 45 seconds. So I spent majority of my career in the marketing industry. I started out in the magazine industry and then moved into more of marketing and operations. And I've planned events from conferences in Venice, Italy to wine festivals on the beach. And then about a year and a half ago, I got really frustrated that our industry didn't have a software that I could jump into and use and work with my vendors and really collaborate and communicate. And so last year in September, I launched Planning Diva. And so I would say, jumping into the next question, what did I learn last year? was a huge learning year for me because I've always started LLCs, and when you start an LLC, you start with yourself, and then you make enough money, and you bring someone else on, and you pay them, and you slowly build your business. And last year, I started out this corporation with 5 employees, and I knew that I had to grow and scale, and I would have a 5 to 7 year exit strategy. And so instead of starting this fun business that I enjoyed to go to every day, and it was just based on something that I liked, it was, this is like the fast train. We have it's just flying, every day it just flies by. And I learned what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, my strengths, my weaknesses, like all in 1 year. So did I answer all parts?
Yes,
Okay.
It was wonderful. The question is, if you were to summarize your career in 45 seconds to 2 minutes, what would you summarize that as?
Heidi and I took this, and we're going to two-part it, so we get 4 minutes. I said I'd tell everything pre-pandemic, and she'd tell the fun part post-pandemic. So I like to tell everyone our industry is destination management, right? So that means absolutely nothing. We're a DMC, not a DMV. We are a local planning company for corporations and associations. And I got into this business over 20 years ago from an ad in the Vale Daily when I lived there for a marketing coordinator. So there you go, we started planning events. I worked for that company, and I always like to say I've only ever worked for women, so I hope I bring something to the table for the women and men that work for us. I learned a lot about what to do and what not to do, but I worked there for a long time, and in 2009, which will be one of my answers later around the resilience of our industry, having survived 9/11, the dot-com kind of fallout, and then the housing crisis, the company I worked for, I won a single night $1 million event, and I concepted it, and I sold it, and I helped plan the logistics, and then that summer I got fired, and because I'm a commander, as I mentioned earlier, so I got fired after 10 years, but going into that, I thought I could do this for myself. I just planned and thought up a $1 million event in a year when the company I worked for that had done 17 million the year before will do 5 this year. I'm 20% of her revenue. So I started a business, and I called my best friend who was 9 months pregnant and said, quit your job and let's start a business. That was 2009. And we grew that business right up until 2019, 2020. We were looking at a $20 million year. Going into 9/11, wrong problem. Pandemic, you all remember, and that was great, and we really loved what we did. And then the pandemic happened. Cut to Heidi.
Obviously, it was pretty devastating for our industry, as we all know, but it actually was such a blessing in disguise for us. For the pandemic, Danielle and I originally owned Colorado. So we serviced all of Colorado. We also owned an office in Nashville, and we just felt so happy, right? We were like, okay, Colorado and Nashville. We also belonged to a national brand, Access, but at the time, we were all individually owned, and the brand was owned by a private equity firm, but the owners in New York were separate, different owners, the ones in Texas, separate owners. We said we were one company. We would market that, but we really weren't. Danielle and I did our own thing as Colorado and Nashville owners. Texas did their own thing, but we said, oh, we have the same brand. And it really wasn't consistent. So after the pandemic hit, which was devastating, but the private equity firm backed out and literally left Danielle and I. Said, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We built our company off of this national presence. Now we have to go back to what we were originally, workshop events. And how are we going to do this? How are we going to build? And it was scary, 100%. We talked to our other partners, licensing partners at the time, and we all were pretty nervous. But like I said, it was a blessing in disguise because a few of us came together and we bought the brand back. And I feel empowered, I will say. That was one of my moments. We felt very empowered that we can actually go in and, first of all, figure out all this terminology of how to even buy a brand back from a, bankruptcy. I didn't even know half of the words that these people were saying, but I was like, that sounds good. I guess that sounds good. But in result, because I know it's an elevator pitch, so we're really going to the penthouse. But in return, what it did is that it allowed us to partner with people who were like-minded. And that is what I would really say is key. People who really wanted to grow. And it's okay if some people feel something different, but to be able to truly partner with someone that has the same vision and growth was really what set us apart. So we did partner with just a few of them that who are previous owners, and it has been a long process, but a really fun journey of bringing what I say really one company together. And when I say it now, I mean it. I'm not lying. And I really feel it. We feel it. We are one company coast to coast. So we have offices from California all the way to New York, down to Florida, all the way up in Seattle. And so it allowed us to come together and bring put together a foundation, a structure, a culture, and for our partners, we have 3 other partners, and we look back and we say that was really the most incredible journey, and it is the strength that makes us, really pulled us together is because we all had the same vision and the same plan and the growth. So I know that was a really long elevator, but that's our journey through Access.
That's great.
So in 2003, I had a really amazing high-paying sales job and marketing job that I found myself staying out longer and longer on sales calls thinking there has to be more to life than this. Like, I can't just be 23 years old thinking like this is it for the rest of my life. So I did something really good now, probably stupid at the time. I quit this high-paying job. And I decided I was going to go bartend and I was going to volunteer at flower shops. I lived in Portland, Oregon at the time. So I left. I got a job at this awful sports bar. And I remember it was right around Valentine's Day as well, volunteering at any flower shop that would take me. And there was this little tiny, it was like equal to like a Velda Camps or something, in the bottom of the Wells Fargo Center. And I walked in like the week of Valentine's Day. I was like, I know you need extra help. I totally know what I'm doing. I'm here to help you. And she was like, done. So I remember at Portland, it obviously rains a lot. Valentine's Day, there's thousands of red roses that need to be processed. And I'm standing outside in the rain in this parking lot for free, shucking roses. And I was like, hell yes, I made it. I made it. Called my parents and they were like, what is wrong with you? I remember begging anybody that would let me do the flowers for them. I actually ran across some of those photos the other day, you guys. It was peacock feathers and old beer bottles. You know, stuff I'm really proud of. Anyways, fast forward to I moved to Colorado in 2010 and started working for other florists from Broomfield to Parker in 2011. And I really got to know the Parker market, and I really got to start to lean into relationships and learning how to speak with venue coordinators and learning how those relationships were formed and where they could take you. There was a lady that came in and bought the shop. She had a grocery store background. Respectfully, this is now her business, but I have been doing weddings and events for her for the previous owner. This lady wanted to come in, do it this way, this way, this way, and I was like not one to comply until it hit me one day. I was like, respectfully, this is her business. She has the right to run it her way. I'm not doing her a service by trying to mold it into something I want it to be.
So I left and I started interviewing other places, and I had my integrity questioned. And I was unsure in myself, people asking, are you gonna show up? How do I know you're really gonna be here for the wedding? And I was like, you don't call in sick in this industry. Like, I'm the owner, I gotta be there. And I was like, you're questioning my authority and my integrity. And I was like, I can't do this for anybody else anymore. Like, I have to be in charge. I can't answer to anybody else anymore. Through the support of my husband, I went out stupidly and started a business. So I thought, I got online, I fumbled my way through pages, I thought I had signed myself up, these little things that you do. You're like, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna do this on my own. I remember answering like Craigslist ads at the time for $200 weddings, and I was like, I'm making it. Fast forward, you start getting a few employees under your belt, and my passion for this industry and my passion to grow something for this community grew so much bigger. I have a servant's heart. I have to give back to get back what I have in this life. And I really believe that as a community, we're stronger. I really lead with that heart. I lead that there is no competition in this industry. I believe that we're all better together. So I really focused on forming those partnerships and relationships with other vendors. That was in 2015. We fumbled our way through. A couple years later, my husband started his own business called The Strike Crew, which focuses on labor and logistics, being able to help other businesses. Fast forward to the end of 2022 and 2023 and 2024, we decided to merge everything under one roof and better serve our community. We've taken a lot of time to figure out what was missing from this community, how we can better serve our vendors and better work together and collaborate together. I really believe in community over competition and putting other people first. I believe that if you lead with a good heart, it's gonna come back to you in the long run, which it's proven by all these incredible faces that I see here out supporting us all tonight. So here we are.
Wow, and incredible answers. I'm just very humbled to be in the room with these four amazing ladies that are taking over the industry and just really leading by example. I mean, just turn to the person next to you and give them a big old high five for being here. There we go. I love the authenticity and just the vision of these ladies and everybody in the room. Because I think without that vision of our lives and our companies, then it's impossible to be empowered and actually take charge and make a difference in this world if you can't do that. So the next question is, if you were to get a do-over in your business, what would you do?
So I don't believe in do-overs. I don't believe in regrets. I believe that you should give yourself gentle permission to fail. I feel that when you do fail, what you should do is take as much time as you can to extract all the information from why you failed and move forward from it. I would never go back and do anything over in my life. I just take it as learning lessons.
First, and I forgot to say this last time, so Heidi and I, when Monica Cheeks started NACE, the chapter here in Colorado with Sid Stoper, I remember going to the first NACE, and I just want to say thank you to everyone here, because we were saying when we walked in, some of our best employees we found here, because you demonstrate a desire to grow in who you are, and I'd just say to this NACE chapter, and like, if I was on the recruiting team, right, is like, how do you be the best NACE chapter? If I was on this NACE chapter, I'd be like, NACE is coming here. We're gonna be the best damn NACE chapter in the country. So I believe in it, and I think you guys, like, the more that you can support that and find that like fire in your own furnace. So I just wanna say, having been there from the beginning and all the great connections that I made, thank you to NACE for having us. And side note, Heidi and I also own Max and Livy, which uses the strike crew, so I had no idea that we had that connection. I have many do-overs that I would do in life, in my work career. I love your just excite. I'm like, well, you know, I would do that over. I think, you know, I look back on our career and I don't have regrets. I think I learned a lot, right? So Heidi and I started Eclectic Hive, and it wasn't right for us after 2 years, and we sold to the current owner and wished her the best of luck. And we restarted Max and Livy, and Access went through 8 different versions, and for every time we stumbled, like we got back up stronger. And so I have one do-over I told Heidi tonight. Her name's Kelsey K. And I think the thing I could give to anyone here who's a business owner or just an employee in a company is sometimes it's easier to lead with judgment, right? It's easy to be critical. And Kelsey K had given everything to us. And maybe she didn't work like me or contribute like me. And I found myself, you know, now 13 years ago, and I expected as an owner that everyone who worked for me would give what I gave. And, you know, we had a client the other week at the Gaylord, and she showed up, and I was like, oh, hey, how's it going? And she was annoyed that our team wasn't working as hard as her, and the hotel wasn't working as hard as her, and she had on a Louis Vuitton scarf, a Gucci bag, and Gucci shoes. And I said to the gal I was with, I'm like, how can you ask of them? Like, your benefit is far greater. Her benefit, right, as the owner of that company was always far greater than the employee. And I think, how could I find a level of humility that I could appreciate what Kelsey K brought to the table because she was invaluable? And when we lost her, that was a sad day, right? Because my own shortcomings came between her employment with us. And so I think whether you're an employer or an owner, how you can find your humility, but also understand, you know, where we are as owners and what that looks like. And the sacrifice Heidi and I have made and the risk that we've made is great, and I love that. But I can't ask someone who works for me to necessarily do the same, and how can I honor and appreciate them? I think was a big do-over I would do. So my do-over is Kelsey K. We love her, so, you know, we're still good friends now, but we would do it different.
I think for me, it's the constant learning lesson. And if I had to truly narrow it down, because like Danielle said, we've gone through a lot of openings of new businesses between Danielle and I starting what was the workshop that turned into Access, version part 2, and then Eclectic Hive to Max and Livy. So I didn't realize until actually saying all that, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's been a lot of businesses. And I think the piece, and maybe it's just my old age and getting, you know, my gray hair wiser, is just, it's there, it's hidden through stuff, but it's there. I know it sounds so simple, and I know it sounds just a little, I guess, cliche a little bit, but it's just enjoy the ride. I think so many times as you just go through the grind, and there were times that I remember Danielle saying, let's do this one, and I'm like, I don't know if I can. And you could tell through my work that it just wasn't, I was half-assed doing it. But when I know, like, the businesses that I saw just came to like really successful, it's because my heart was in it. And if you just take the time sometimes just to step back, whatever you're doing in your careers, whether you're wanting to open up your own new business, whether you're working for someone else, is just step back and be like, am I enjoying it? Am I enjoying the ride? Am I having fun? Because your passion, your excitement will show through that. And your involvement, your engagement, it will just come more natural and genuine. So I know, sounds like so simple, but sometimes I just have to go back to those simple lessons just to remember that to have fun with it, have fun with your colleagues, the people you get to know, new and network, and it does come back in return, right? When you show up with that smile on your face, you're excited to meet that person at this networking event, you can feel it naturally. So it does come back full force, like you were saying.
These are all very good. I'm actually going to lean into a little bit more of like what Danielle said. My answer is very similar. I had to write notes down too, sorry, because they're very important. I don't want to forget, and I'm nervous up here. But this one's messy for me a little bit because it's not instinctual to who I am. But I definitely would have learned earlier to create a veil between myself and the employees. Like being a little baby startup, obviously I took everybody that was close to me and I was like, we're gonna do this together. So it was like friends and family, right? But they only know as much as I know, and shit gets messy when things go south between you guys. So I feel like in the beginning, I tried to pull people that aren't gonna run this like their own business. They're not gonna care as much as you do. They're not the ones that have to take accountability or responsibilities when things go wrong. They're not the ones, that work from sunup to sundown. It feels good at first, right? Because this is your buddy, this is your family. You're like, we're doing this together. I'm gonna pull you up with me. But it's like at some point, those relationships don't work out and you can't carry those people with you anymore, and it ends messy. I feel like had I hired qualified individuals from the beginning, I probably would have saved myself a ton of time and a ton of money looking back on it. If I would have hired somebody who is more experienced from the beginning, I could have learned more. Because if I'm taking people that are with me from the beginning, their growth is stunted where my growth is stunted. And I'm humble enough to admit I don't know all this yet. I need the help of other people. I need the help of my colleagues and my business coach and mentors to grow to the next spot. And people don't always want to go with you. So you have to learn to cut those ties and let it go. I'm still working on that. We've been burned a few times on this. Now looking back, we've hired qualified people, and looking at budgetary aspects of things, I've seen where we actually save money by paying somebody twice as much, because it makes your whole team more efficient, your company more efficient, your bottom line more efficient. It also creates that veil where you're able to make quick business decisions, cut that off when you need to, and continue to grow and do what's best for your company.
Wow, such fantastic answers, and I love the vulnerability in that, and that you can do a business, or you can be an employee for 100 different companies. You always get a do-over in your life. You can always look back and reevaluate and change courses, and that's just the beauty of life, is that we get to choose our direction, and that it's ultimately up to us to choose that path and keep going and to accomplish our vision that we have for our lives. So next question would be, what's your single best success habit that you do on a daily basis?
I think I decided in 2018 exactly who I wanted to be, and I decided I was going to act like that person, I was going to dress like that person, and I was just going to be that person. And I fight imposter syndrome just like everybody does, and really working on that negative thoughts that come into your head and replacing them with positive thoughts rewires your brain to just have a more positive, every single day I wake up and when I have these negative thoughts and they come into my head and I replace them, I just have learned that I'm such a more positive, happy person if I focus on that every single day.
That's a good one. Isn't it fun? I've never, of all the people in this place, I'm like, not an imposter. You rock it. Okay, I'm gonna add one thing, because I don't even know we're gonna get there, but Shannon, you just brought up a good thing. It was gonna be my story, and you touched on it, and I just wanna share this. It's not my story. Heidi and I, which I'm humble and thankful. We won Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies last year, and we got to go to their big conference, and there was a woman there. What was the name of her lingerie company? Lovely? I don't know. So she's sitting up on a panel like this, and someone said, what would be your do-over from your first company that she sold for $123 million, this gorgeous New Yorker. And then she goes, I sat on the sideline for 30 days, and then I started my organic, energy drink, and a year later, I'm in 4,000 stores and whatever. And what she said, which is important, and I think if you're a manager of people, if you work with people, if you're an employee or an owner of a company, she said, if I could do it different, from the first company where we were a family to the second company, we were a high performance team. She said, I had to fire my Uncle John 3 times. And that was the joke, right? But I think even when I look back on my career, if I'd seen myself as a high performance player and not a family, we're really fortunate. We're almost 300 employees now. And we get stuck in this family, and we had younger generations say, I don't like the word family because it makes me think you're going to ask me to do something and not pay me. And of course, we all were like, say what? But it's the idea of what she said is, if you're a high-performance company, you're either on the team and you're playing on the field, you're on the bench, you're on the bus, or you're back home. And that idea, I think, really resonated with me, and I think with how we run our company, because there's a lot of pitfalls in being a family. It sounds really great from the outside, but I'll just say my one success habit that Heidi and I have done since the day we started our company 15 years ago is we always had a plan. We were joking tonight before we came here. We were looking up how to write a business plan 15 years ago, and every year we sit down and we know what are our values, what are our objectives. If you haven't, there's a great book called Traction. They call it a vision traction organizer, and it makes you look at your 10-year plan, your 5-year plan, your 1-year plan, and then they call them the rocks and the issues, and all the things that get in the way of your plan. And I think there's accountability and ownership, and so my success habit is I make a plan, and every week that I start, I have a plan. I know my plan for my calendar, for what I want to accomplish, and as it relates to work, and it's helped me in my family with my husband and my children, is I have a plan, and then I go work that plan. So
I think, remember I said I was a driver, so my thing with just helps me to be successful in the day is because I can get into a routine of just keep pushing myself personally, work. If I work just more, and if I keep on working, it's just I'm going to get more and more successful. And obviously, it can wear you out, and it can break you down. And it is actually one of the things that when we went to this Inc. 5000 conference, it was really interesting to hear so many successful people say, take care of yourself, and then you also will be successful. So one of the things I've adapted, still not 100% great at it, so I just wanted to say, but I don't look at my phone when I first wake up. My alarm goes off, I might hit snooze 1 or 2, 3 or 4 times, so maybe that's, but I know where the snooze button is, and then I'll just turn it off. I don't even look at email, and I do something for myself for an hour. And for me, it's exercise, just going for a run, a walk, stretching, whatever it might be. I clear my brain so that when I get back, when I do get behind that computer, or unfortunately, right, like we all do, look at our phone, I'm just more at a clear state of mind. And it's not, I found myself not reacting to emails aggressively or reactive, just being a little bit more patient and thoughtful on it. So just taking that moment for yourself, work will be there. It will always be there. And there will always be lots of it. So just take the moment for yourself before you look at that phone. That's where I would just recommend, at least it's been helping me when I commit to it.
We're very similar, ladies. So End of 2022 and beginning of 2023, our business was like fast track to everything. And I forgot the difference between work and home. And I'm not too embarrassed to admit I had some mental health issues as far as like anxiety and ADHD, and hit complete burnout in 2023. Like talking about closing our business, that I can't handle this anymore type of thing, because I just didn't know how to separate work from home. It was like constant. I would pick up the phone first thing in the morning, and I would sit on the phone until 1 o'clock in the morning. So fast forward, get some help by way of business coach, and through what my husband and I call happy hour every night, and not what everybody else thinks is like happy hour. There's no alcohol involved. It's not alcohol involved. But it is really like taking that time to set your phone down and to really distinguish yourself. Like, I am at home now. Nobody needs to bother me at 8 o'clock at night. Nobody needs to bother me at 7 o'clock at night. But I need to do something for myself, and I need to do something for this little brain up here to further grow and be more patient during the day. So happy hour now consists of master classes or podcasts, or seeking out other business mentors, or watching videos at night, affirmations, meditation, relaxation, all this stuff that you are taught to take care of yourself. And since implementing that back in again, I have felt the patience come back. I wake up excited with purpose. Like, my feet hit the floor every morning, I'm excited. I don't get a case of the Mondays anymore. I don't have the Sunday scaries anymore. Like, I look at every Monday morning as an opportunity for us to continue growing. And I look forward to coming home at night and turning off that phone now. I even tried it this weekend. Was busy working, and I put my phone literally in the other room for 2 days, and I was like, this was amazing. Like, just checking out, right? Because I'm still a fun person outside of work. I just have to find her again sometimes.
Everybody just shout to yourself, I am a fun person. I like that one. I am empowered. Yes, that's a good one. I love what Danielle said about being on the team or off the team, and I think it's fascinating to study just high-performing teams and sports and business and kind of how that relates. And I just hear a lot of, there's a quote that says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I just hear a lot of planning. They're event planners, but of course, a lot of business planning and a lot of rethinking in these answers. So it's a lot about reinventing yourself almost on a daily basis on what you have to do, and really establishing those baseline guidelines to people to accomplish what you're looking for. So the next question is more directed towards Heidi and Danielle, kind of on work-life balance. You said that you were best friends. How do you go about doing the work-life balance on that? Because when is work time and when is hangout time? Like, how do you distinguish those?
When it's wine time?
What?
Work time.
This is
wine
social time for us.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Oh,
I
wine
saw
time
you
right
get
now.
a new
There
one,
we
and
go.
or maybe someone up here. I'm like, oh, come on, I'm just empty. It was funny. I was thinking when I was like, what's one thing you'd recommend to other people? And I'm like, work with your best friend, obviously. I think the thing, you can imagine, we hear a lot right now generationally about work-life balance, and we've talked a lot with our teams. It used to be where you were fully in the office, and then we all went to this other side. And I'm like, is it okay from leadership to ask you to meet in the middle, right? That's a tough conversation to have, but we went from work, life, to life, work. And I think, how do you find the middle? And I'll tell you, the people who are going to succeed in their careers and find financial success, work success, they're going to know, they're going to meet you in the middle. If you're seeking life, that's great. probably we're not the company for you. We're a performance-based company, right? And I think that there's a piece that it's like, I had a manager once, and he said, the fire lives in you or it doesn't, and you can't ignite it. And all of us, oh, thank Thor.
We need some more wine.
I have
Thank
a 10-year-old,
you, Scotty.
and he says, thank Thor. Now I'm 48 almost, and I'm like, oh, thank Thor. But I think that, thank you, by the way. I think that, I don't even remember the question. How do you work with someone? Work life, I think you have to, I'll just say for Heidi and I, we've done a really good job propping each other up to understand that there is a time to work. And if you can understand that, I think there's a lot of success in that. And the fact that we sacrificed life many times over the last I'll say my whole career, 25 years, I sacrificed life sometimes. And now I find I can reward my life because the work ended up begetting better work and better success. And so if you have this expectation that it look the same every day, every year, every month, and prioritize life, that's great. But if you want business success, it will come at a cost. And for Heidi and I am gonna answer for her because it's like we speak the same language. We've done a really good job holding each other accountable. What Heidi shared with you guys, she shared with me last year because I was so spun out. And I have 2 kids, I have a husband, I have a life, a family. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 47 years old, I'm 10, 15 pounds overweight, I'm stressed all the time, and I can't find time for myself. And she goes, don't start work till 9. Because what's gonna happen? But I found that I could figure out where it worked for me, but it was the idea of someone who would support you. So whoever your support person is, she's been that for me. I took all the time, Heidi, but there you go.
Yeah. No, it really is. I was going to touch on that is we have a very unique, we call it, lightning in a bottle. We really do, because you can't always work with your best friend, and we've been able to figure that out. And business coaches are very important, yes. But really to answer what, Brian, what you're saying is that when we do the work-life balance, it's holding each other accountable. She's got 2 beautiful kids, I've got 3 kids, and to know that there's support there is huge. And to be vulnerable, to say, I need help. If you can only tell that, and I'm sure for all 4 of us, right, we don't like to fail. And failing seems, like a very negative, bad thing. And it can't be, it's not. And to be vulnerable, to say, I need help, I need time, I need balance, is the most important thing. And so I'm very fortunate that I have a great partner, but we have to hold each other accountable, say, go, stop, take it, and I got it. And it might not come back the exact same perfect way, but we're keeping the train moving forward. But ultimately, it's okay to raise the white flag and say, I need a moment. And that is not failing. You might feel it, but it's not failing. It's just giving you a time to re-energize and to be creative, because I will say that's where I can actually speak for her, because she comes back from these moments when she can have her time with her family, and man, are those creative juices just like flowing. I was like, where did that come from? But when you do get to enjoy life, right, when you get that time, it actually is when it allows you to be creative, and we like to call in our company, be Imagineers. So.
Love those answers. Next question will be for everybody, and that is, I have to look at my notes here. What are you currently most excited about in the event industry?
Tech, baby. All of it. Whether it's event planning, whether it's AI, tech is the future in event planning.
I think you're a C on the core mapping. You're a commander too, aren't you? She's a get it done lady. I like that. I can appreciate like-minded. You stole Heidi's answer. I will say what I'm most excited about the events industry, and I told Heidi this, is we are just the most resilient industry. When I think through my career of 9/11, .com, housing crisis, pandemic, you name it, I'm like, when our company, we lost $20 million, just fell off the cliff in March of 2020, and we laid off 40 amazing employees, and you just thought dang, what just happened? But I never lost. I was like, oh, I'm coming back. And I used to say to the other, Heidi and the other woman that we're business partners with, I'm like, we're like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. And I think what I'm most excited about the event industry is that there's no limits. And there are probably people in this room, I got the chance, meeting Brian, who started with an axe throwing company, and he works with our company probably weekly, and all of the people with team building companies, and My High, and all of the companies we work with. I'm like, these were the dreams and visions of people who woke up one day and took a chance. And so I'm most excited about what do we not know? Because there's someone here, there's someone in every city who's got an idea, and I would encourage everyone, what do you have to lose? You have everything to gain, and maybe a little setback. We lived off $15,000 a year when we first started our company for 3 years, and I made it work. Went to Walmart with my $60 a week, and I did my little phone calculator. So I think I'm most excited about what we don't know. That's what my team, I oversee the creative team, that's what we're looking for every day, is what do we not know? Because we are so resilient, and we are Imagineers, and we're innovators, and I love that. And we're just you were saying earlier, I'm like, what was the word? And I'm back here, and I'm like, fierce. So that's what I think we are.
Love it.
It was, yes, Jenny. I was saying thing, AI. I think I'm coming from a different perspective, though, because I was that girl that said, I don't need to do email. I'm fine. Until my professor was like, you're going to fail this class unless you know how to work email. Fast forward, it's my friends are they're texting me. I'm like, this thing is stupid. I hate text. I'm a phone person. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it.
Okay. When we started our business, I would text Heidi, and I'd be like, because we were coming to a NACE event, and I'd be like, hey, I'll be at your house in 10 minutes. And my phone would ring. Hey, I'll be ready.
So I'm a little different, Jenny. It takes me a little bit to adapt to, keeping up with the times. So AI is exciting. It's also, for me, I'm like, I have to put myself out of my comfort zone, just like I did with email and text. But, so I am excited to embrace that piece of it. The other piece that I look at from, for our industry, which has definitely kept us on our toes, is keeping up with the generations and really, really understanding what motivates them and what inspires them. It's our company, Inspire People through shared services. And I'm like, and what does inspire you? In some cases with some generations. And so just being able to, but that's exciting for me. It is to keep up with it, be engaged, be current, and it is to take challenges and not be afraid, and some might flop and some might soar.
Also, leaning into what you guys said, I'm also very, very excited for AI for also different reasons, though. From a designer aspect, you'll hear a lot of people like, aren't you scared of what it's going to do? There's all these false realities out there with photos, and I also look at that as a challenge. I think that's going to push us as designers. We need to push the boundaries. Okay, they're completely fabricated photos, but how do we get there? As designers, how do we bring that stuff to life? And I think that's something that, to stay on the forefront, I have to enlist the younger generation to help us learn this stuff. I'm getting up there. But enlisting the help of a younger generation. But the design aspect from it, I think, is just going to push us a lot farther. How do we create those mechanics? How do we get the fabric to look that way? How do we get the flowers to go in that direction? How do we get them to hold in this position? I think it's going to be really exciting. I mean, it's just getting started, right? Like, I feel like we're at the beginning of like social media again with the whole AI inception and what it's going to do for us.
Yeah, and we have AI sketch bots back there. I mean, hello, all the event technology that's coming out, AI photo booths, like there's just so many iterations that we can do in the event industry. So it's very exciting to see all the applications that AI will have in the next few years and upcoming, and how it's going to impact our industry. So last question before we take on the people's questions will be, when do you feel most empowered?
Okay, I feel bad, Jenny. You've been going first the entire time. Yeah. Okay. All right. Jenny. I'll take one for the team. Well, I think I mentioned earlier, I felt one of my most proud moments, right? Obviously, is feeling empowered is when we did take over the company, went up against nasty private equity firm, but didn't think it. I was like, again, so out of my comfort zone. To just know, like, connecting with banks and how does this whole process, I'm like, I plan events. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing on this side of it, but that was really incredible. And in turn, what just makes me feel even more empowered is seeing the impact it made on my kids, because they saw what my company went through in 2020. And they saw me being on a lot of those phone calls and having to lay off family members at the time. But you know, one of my biggest things is my son would I went for a walk. He's like, "Well, Mom, what are you gonna do now? You know, you gonna like stay home with me?" Like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna go back out there. I'm gonna do it again. We're gonna be bigger. And he didn't, and I mean, he's a teenager, so I mean, he probably said, "Go, brah," right? Go, bro. Right. Gotcha. Awesome. But I will, you know, so I will say, yes, the empowerment of being able to do what we did from Access and build it to be one company, but really seeing the impact that it made on my kids. And I do have, so I have 2 boys and I have a daughter. And just seeing that, you know, her confidence and that just, you know, it's like you said, it's being a servant, just being able to give back has been pretty incredible. Okay, we'll go this way.
Oh boy.
Sorry for the motion, by the way.
I love it. You're human.
Yes.
I would say right now, no. A few years ago, I had a colleague of mine ask me to speak at a retreat for the first time. It was a retreat she was putting on for other colleagues. People were paying a very large amount, I thought at the time, to come and see myself and my assistant speak at the time. And it's a lot of like that imposter syndrome you were speaking about earlier, like, what do I have to share with people? And it was honestly standing up there in front of like a group of 45 women, like eager to learn with you, being able to share those experiences, and hopefully somebody would be able to take away a little nugget that would help them in their future business, I think was the most empowering. Being asked to come back and speak multiple years in a row just further hit home, like, okay, maybe we're doing something right. Maybe we're sharing something right. Maybe I'm teaching myself right. I'm still learning along the way. I never want to be done learning, but I think being looked at as somebody that had something to share for somebody else was like probably the most empowering for me.
I think I feel most empowered when I'm helping other people and I see them succeed. I know I have a lot of gifts to share, and so when I can take the time out and be able to share these gifts, I think that, and then to see them succeed off of it is what makes me feel the most empowered. It's not really anything that I do or I achieve, but it's just helping other people. Like some of my friends here from Fortissimo, they went through a really hard time last year, and they said, hey, can you give me a hand? And now they're succeeding and thriving, and I feel very empowered that I got to be a part of that journey.
I think mine's like yours. I'm kind of a nugget type person. So for everyone here, I think I've learned a lot. If you don't follow Simon Sinek and all of his leadership videos, there's just a lot of good nuggets in there. And one of the things he says is people won't care what you say unless they know you care. And the way I think I've felt most empowered in the last few years in my personal growth was I'm such a driver, and I love, how I felt empowered and what filled my cup. Even up to 2 years ago was that entrepreneur, that visionary. Like, I was never satisfied. I was always growing to the next, and now I think I want our business to live well beyond us. And that meant that the next generation had to carry the torch. And so one of the phrases that our business coach uses is you have to lead with care. And if people know you care, you can challenge them to do good work. And that's kind of been my motto. And the people that I find around me that know I care for them, and I challenge them hard to do good work. It's been so empowering and rewarding seeing how they've grown in their career. And, when you talk about the work-life balance, I'll say on this side, for the last 3 years, we've been kind of shot out of a cannon, but I see a lot of great moments with my family, and that's been the result of allowing someone else to grow in their career. So I'm super thankful, and I feel empowered by the gifts they give me that I hope I return to them. So,
love those answers. There's so much knowledge and wisdom that you can unpack from all of that. So we'll open it up to the audience. Who has questions for our amazing panelists this evening? Bonnie.
Hello, I love all of you ladies. Thank you so much for being here. My question is that, you guys have grown in your careers and are now in a place where you are empowered. What are you doing for your employees and the people that you work with to empower them?
I'm going to hand this over, but I've tried to hire Bonnie for 5 years. I just want everyone to know that. The owner of Biscuits and Berries is my neighbor, and I can't get Bonnie.
It is a great question, and Bonnie, that's it's one of the things that we made a priority for our company. Is we made it a mission to be one of the best places to work, and so we're super excited. We actually have been nominated for that, but it is an ongoing process, and part of that is to have growth opportunities, and so it is part of our culture. We have made it our culture to encourage growth, and in ways, and I know every company is a little different, size or whatnot, but always making sure we're announcing all new positions, because we can't assume that someone doesn't want to take a position or not. So making sure everyone is aware of open opportunities across all of our offices. But we also have, one of the big things for us is spending a lot of time on training and to build just the knowledge so that it allows people the confidence that they can reach out to continue their growth. And the other, I would say, main piece is a mentor program that we added at our company to give that comfort zone. And again, it doesn't have to be a big company, small, it can happen at any size, but you can't assume that someone's always going to be comfortable talking to the boss, right? And so creating that mentorship has really been a huge added value, especially though with the growth that we have. And but it's one of our biggest things is our people make our company, so it's our culture.
Can I add one piece? I'll just add one thing. We have a gal. I would say approachability. If you're a manager, be approachable. I had a gal a senior creative manager come to me 3 weeks ago, asked for a meeting. She sat down and said, senior managers should be compensated at a different level, and let me tell you why. And she's laid out all of these things, and in our business, we call them fast trackers. If you're a manager, know your fast trackers, and if you think you're a fast tracker, make sure your manager knows. Because that sometimes is you won't get what you don't ask for. Tassie Forrest on our team, she's going to get what she asked for because she came to me boldly and confidently and asked for what she wanted and was willing to do the work. So I'd say that sometimes we think our work should show for itself. And when I look back on my career, I wish I had been bold in saying, I'm a fast tracker. I'm going to commit to your company. I'm going to help it grow. And here's how. And I think any of us as business owners, if someone came to us, we'd talk about it for weeks. We'd be like, that's the girl, which is why I'd keep trying to hire Bonnie.
Any other answers from our panelists? Perfect, Shannon.
I think ours is a lot of the same. Since we started Lusha, we have also, I think now we're up to probably 5 different departments. And it's really sitting down with those people and asking them their goals, which we hadn't done before. We assumed our goals were their goals, and that's why they were there. And it's not. They don't necessarily know our 5-year goals, our 10-year goals, our lifetime goals. So recently we've been sitting down and onboarding with everyone. My husband, Lou, takes care of like the human resources side and has been really great at implementing like even surveys that we're giving out to them, like who's your best friend at work? Where do you feel comfortable talking? Because exactly that, they haven't been necessarily comfortable approaching us. So right now it's sitting down with them, asking them their goals, like how can we help better your goals? Asking them to take initiative. Giving them the resources to take that initiative. If it's something that's going to benefit our company, I would love to invest in those people because I feel like in turn they're going to invest in us, whether that's leadership conferences or different certifications for different rigging classes or whatever it may be. It's empowering them, like literally empowering them to tell us, like, do you have ideas? Otherwise, we can suggest things as well. We lost our guy.
Awesome question, Bonnie. Thank you so much. So are you going to join Team Access, or what's the deal here? Go Bonnie. Go Bonnie. And I hope everybody's taking notes because this is absolute business gold here. Am I right? Yes. All right, any other questions? No, we have some. Perfect.
Hi. I've heard you mention business coaching a few times, and I wanted to know what made you decide to take on a business coach, and how did they contribute to your success? And how would you recommend going about finding the right business coach for you?
My husband actually started using a business coach for his company first. I didn't really even know that these type of people were out there. I thought they were like beyond my reach, or I thought they were for a different industry. I had no idea the relevance it would be for us. I started using a business coach probably 4 months ago. Yeah. In that 4 months, I have been able to accomplish basically the last 10 years I had with Olive and Poppy. It's incredible. I had to be vulnerable, and I had to ask for help because I wanted to fail forward. What was the other parts of your question?
How do you find one?
Oh, I got lucky in the sense that my husband was already using one, so I tagged along and fell in love with the same one. He is in our industry. And then I've recently started researching just business mentors in general. I know that there's a few in this room. I don't know. What's that? Oh, I use Chris Starkey at Imprint Group. He's amazing. But it was just a great track for me to have somebody lay it out, and somebody to keep me accountable and somebody to keep me excited. When I left there, I was like, let's go every time. Every time I leave there, I'm dancing down the middle of the street. I have my homework list, I have a cheerleader, I have a support team, I have somebody who's traveled this path before. Not that I'm taking the same path, but somebody to say, these are the steps you need to take next, and this is why. I have to role play, I have to get up there and look stupid, but that's okay because I'm learning myself. And this is what, I'm not supposed to have these answers. If I had these answers, I wouldn't need a business coach, right? So it's sitting up there and being vulnerable and asking somebody to give the advice, where do we go next? What are the next steps? I didn't even know all the paperwork we needed to have filled out. I didn't know the marketing strategies that needed to be done. I started off as a florist, obviously moved into event design, and moved into being a business owner. I never started off as a business owner, so I needed somebody to teach me the back end of this to keep that part going while we keep the fun design aspect going up front as well. But I'll let you ladies.
Yes, we highly recommend a business coach. And it is an investment, so it is scary up front, especially when Danielle and I were starting our business. We hired one when we were workshop events, which I do feel this business coach really helped guide us to our path, to where we are. We have a couple business coaches, but this, I will say, I think the biggest thing, but again, we're in our infancy stage, I guess I would say, of our business. So to be able to invest in someone like a business coach, you're kind of does this make sense? And I would highly recommend it. And the reason is, one of the biggest things is when you're used to being in the business all the time, the doer, everything is urgent. Everything is urgent. And when you have a business coach, they help you prioritize of what's important versus what's urgent. And if you don't focus a certain amount of time on the important, you won't grow, because the brainstorming, the creativity, the planning, it always gets pushed to the back burner. And having a business coach allows you to, forces you, if you do your homework, to focus on the things that are important for the business. So that was, I would say, probably in kind of an overview, was the biggest thing that helped us with the business coach. Ours was Dean Savoca. He does also a lot of great retreats, so a little plug in for Dean Savoca. And then Danielle, and then just because our business just changed, we just have a different business coach that's more focused on leadership. And so it's just kind of different stages. So just like anything, right? Just reach out to people and just start asking questions. I'm sure potentially, maybe, right? I don't know, NACE might have some members that are already part of this that could help even just start asking. But don't be afraid. Pick up the phone, start calling and see, and take a leap. And it's a great financial investment.
Yeah, I'll just add Dean Savoca, and I think in our first year, I'm kind of a tangible person, right? Let's say it was $20,000, $10,000 a piece, but call them, call Dean. And if you can't afford Dean, I bet he has 5 people you can't afford. We use Mark Youngblood. His program is called Inner Mastery. He's based in Florida. You can be in group programming with him for $12,000. It's a 1-year training course, and you learn a lot about how to work with people, how to set goals. So I think it's kind of based on what you want, but I think they give you clarity, even in your personal professional career. What is it you want? And, we call it the North Star. If you don't know your North Star today, spend some time figuring that out, right? my North Star was always, it was entrepreneur. I just wanted to create something that I was super jazzed about going to do, and I wanted to be the best at it. So I was always willing to work hard. I didn't know what it looked like, but then I could go like chase that. And so I think if you start there, then you can decide if a business coach is right for you. But you should know your North Star. If you're just plugging along, and Heidi and I were talking about this tonight, if your North Star is make more money, it won't come. It might come, but it might be fleeting. And I think if you seek other things, things like financial reward will come, but it will take the work. So that is investing in a business coach, and that's been a huge piece for us in setting goals for our company, a vision, a mission, and you could do the same for yourself personally.
So I haven't hired a business coach, but last year I went from being a marketing person and event planner to a completely different industry. I went into software, which is like 80% men, and I had no idea who to turn to or who to ask questions to. And it was phenomenal how many women would give me just resource upon resource, and they would say, oh my gosh, be on my podcast. Here, you need to reach out to this company. You need to reach out to them. And so I have a lot of mentors. I went to the Colorado Women's Chamber recently, and there's hundreds of women that are just in all walks of life in different business industries, and they're willing to help. And the Department of Economic Development and Opportunity, they're willing to hook you up with people. So if you can't afford a business coach, you can't, if you're just looking for something maybe more like a mentor or something like that, I think that's a good resource too.
Incredible answers. I just hear a lot of don't be afraid to fail, because comfort zones are where dreams go to die. So don't stay in the comfort zone. We have time for one last question, and then unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap this panel up. I feel like this panel could go on for days. There's just so much incredible information. Who has that last question? And if you're afraid to ask, just remember, push past the comfort zone. Joe has a question for the panel.
Let's talk about the future. Do you have a plans, like you guys were talking about like 1 year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan. Can you elaborate just a little bit more about that? Like, you know, what do you see that maybe we might not see? There's a certain perspective that you can actually throw at us. That'd be great.
I mean, I have my plan all the way to 2030 mapped out quarterly, monthly. So, I mean, everybody else, I don't know what they're doing, but I know what I'm doing.
There's a lesson, right? Have a plan. Who asked me recently? They were like, what do you see in 5 years? And I was like, I don't know, world domination. You know, I think what I would encourage everyone, and it's been my success habit, is I never felt constrained. And Brian said it perfectly. Like, I liked being a little uncomfortable. And, you know, I was uncomfortable at every NACE event I went to. I didn't know who I'd talk to. I didn't know if anyone would talk to me. And I always pushed myself to do what made me really uncomfortable, because I knew that might drive me towards success. I'm still uncomfortable today in large group settings. I was uncomfortable when I got here. So there's company in that, but I think I would just encourage everyone, like, what is it you dream, and are you willing to step out into that? That's, I think, our future is we're not bound by restrictions, right? We're like, I don't know, you want to open in Canada? Now, I tell the team, they always, like, Heidi's like my tether, which I love, but sometimes I'm like, hey, Debbie Downer. I'm like, Mexico. She's like, well, the peso. I'm like, Canada. She's like, the value of the dollar. I'm like, Hawaii. They're like 6-hour transfer. So, you know, but we do it together, right? So she's the driver, and I like to be the dreamer, but we work really well together. So I'd just say in your personal, in your work, I'd stop being afraid. That's what I think is in the future for people who will really drive business is don't be afraid. It's okay to fail. We fail all the time. We've lost money. We've made money. Kelsey K, we lost employees. But we survived, and I think it was a drive to continue moving forward. So it's not really a great specific answer, but.
I just want to echo what Jenny said, is put a plan together, but the biggest thing that you said, Jenny, is break it out. Break it down into quarters. Don't do this, oh my gosh, 5 years, because that can get also pretty overwhelming. So definitely break it down into quarters. But I do want to answer, and what do we see in the future, or maybe for us, even, again, I like to break it down into small segments in the next 3 years. And again, this might only pertain to our industry, so I apologize if it's not relevant to you guys, but we're really looking at those second tier cities that those Indianapolis, Louisville, right? And so, right, entrepreneurs, if you want to learn, if you want to expand, how can you expand? How can you bring your expertise into an area that may be already saturated? And so, just looking at maybe other markets to help with that. So again, might not be relevant to what you guys are doing, but that's just from kind of an industry standpoint, is that we're looking, a lot of our clients are seeing very expensive cities that are the traditional tier 1 cities like California and New York that are really expensive, and they're trying to think outside the box of locations to go. So the trends that we're hearing is that they're really, clients are pushing their stakeholders to look at different areas to be able to do their events.
Ours was also the same. We got about out to 5 years with our plans. It's so hard to see where I see the future 5 years from now, just with how fast everything's changing, and with us being on the very beginning infancy stages of AI. And speaking personally for ourselves in Lusha, we're just getting started, and I feel like we're drinking from a fire hose right now. Our main goal right now is to really make sure our foundation right here is solid. We've dabbled in other states right now currently with Olive and Poppy and with Strike Crew. Now with merging the two of those together into one company, we really want to settle in and dig roots into Denver, make sure that foundation is solid, and then go back out to those little remote cities that we've started trying at. But it's hard to say where I would see the future of our industry in 5 years. I'm excited to see that, but it's changing so fast. I mean, I look back to 5 years ago, and that was pre-COVID, and we start thinking about that stuff, look how much has changed in the last 5 years completely unexpectedly. So it's exciting to see the growth in our industry, though.
Sorry, Brian, I'll add one quick thing. So in our industry, when private equity entered the destination management industry, probably 7 or 8 years ago. So private equity and investment bankers look at highly fragmented industries that surpass the $1 billion mark. And so I think it's important to look 5 years down the road, and I'd say something like what you're doing. I think of our decor company. How can you build something? There's a lot of investment banking companies that'll buy your business. And if you can replicate it, there's something to be said of what is the highly fragmented mom and pop? And it's what we hope to do by being privately owned, but across 40 cities in the United States. Companies want a single contract. That's where I think our industry is going, is a single contract, single contact, things that ease their ability to do business, right? Every corporate client doesn't want to come into every town and find every florist, every decor company, right? If you look for our decor company, right, Court, AFR, there is consolidation happening. We talked about team building. People want ease of service. That's where I think 5 years is, how do you make the planner's life easier? what's the next billion-dollar market that someone wants to consolidate? Are you in it, and are you a big player? So that's what I'd say.
Mic drop on that last answer. I love it. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Brian Ross-Maneth, owner of Ignite Experiences. Thank you so much for joining our wonderful panelists, Jenny, Danielle, Heidi, and Shannon. It is a privilege to host everybody. And our president, Pres-Des of the Makery Cake Co. got you all a gift.
Thank you. Wow, it's really heavy. Thank you, guys.
So many gifts in there. And then we'll end our panel with what we started with, which is I am empowered, and we can go about our day feeling empowered that we can change the world. Ready? I am. Empowered. I am. Empowered. Love it. Thank you all so much.